Hello, welcome to Empower and Ignite Transformation Podcast with Alicia and Nicole. Hi, Alicia. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. The sun is out and I just got finished working out, so definitely feeling good.
Oh, that's super nice. That's super nice. We got some sun today. Yesterday we had a very bad storm,
Um,
so it really was, a thing. But today
mm.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful and sunny and warm. So
Oh,
doing great.
good, good. I know it's been a lot of rain kind of everywhere.
Mhm.
Definitely. So, yeah, it's good that the storm is over and the sun is back out. That's funny because you know how that saying is, it won't rain always.
Right,
The
right.
sun will
And
come
that's
back
true.
out.
Yep.
Oh, it's so true, right?
It's so true. It won't always rain.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually, you will get sun again. You will shine again. It will be bright again. Okay, okay.
I like it.
So, today's topic. Oh my
Oh,
God,
let's
you
jump
ready
in.
to
Let's
get
talk
in this
about it.
one? Okay, okay. So often, right? I know we have spoke on self-care, right? We spoke on
Mhm.
burnout, and how to, like notice when you are experiencing burnout, but then also how to implement self-care. Today's topic is related to tools that we can use, and even how do you manage it all without becoming overwhelmed before the burnout happens, right? Just identifying tools and techniques and skills that you could use on a daily basis to prevent the burnout and overwhelm.
Right, right. And I think that you made some great points. So let's take it a little step back, right?
Okay.
So we have had a listener who brought up the importance of, can you give some tools and what do y'all do to kind of prevent the burnout as being career women, right? And so
Okay.
that's where this topic comes up, where it's so interesting to talk about because, as one of our listeners suggests, we do also need to make sure that the tools is in place for when that feeling of overwhelmness comes into play.
Okay. So they're saying they want us to share some tools that we use. Is that what the
Mhm.
listener said? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm excited. Listen, because I didn't say if you are new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and share. But also, we always say, like, hey, if you have any topics or anything that is of interest that you would like for us to talk about, please, like, leave it in the comments and let
Mhm.
us know. So having a listener ask, hey, can you share some tips on how do you manage preventing from being overwhelmed as business owners, moms, professionals, just navigating the different titles. That's cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm super excited because I think it's really big, right? Because we talk about, you could be overwhelmed and you can kind of have like the stress of the world by overcommitting, like we do that. We don't know how to say no, people pleasing, like that's a big one, things of
Yeah.
that nature. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I put those boundaries in place? How do I say no respectfully,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
not ruin relationships because I said no. And so
Yeah.
I think I think that, like the listener said, that is an important part to talk about,
Mhm.
proper ways to be able to kind of put your boundaries where you need them to be and draw
Right.
on. Yeah.
Definitely. I think too, when you said the listener was like, hey, what are some tools that you guys use, right? One thing that I do with clients that I initially meet, right? I ask them, hey, so tell me your daily routine, right? I want to know how your schedule is, right? What time do you wake up in the morning to the end of the day? What time do you go to bed, right? What's in between? So then when they're able to actually say how their schedule is set up, we're able to identify, okay, so does this work for you? Is it too much on your plate? What would you want, or how would you navigate moving some things around? Do you have support? And so, with me using that for my clients, because I also use that for myself, right? So,
Right.
for the listener, some of the tools that I use for myself is really, hey, I have a schedule. I live on a schedule. So my bedtime is 9:15. My alarm I is set at my on my phone like, okay, it's time to go to bed. So I go to bed early because I wake up early. Because I
Yeah.
know that now my alarm goes off at 5:15 in the morning. Um and that was set because I was doing 5:30 a.m. prayer at the first of the year because we were on a fast. Um so I needed to get up, wash my face, and brush my teeth and be ready for this prayer at 5:30. But I don't now. Right now, I'm not getting. Hit snooze. And I get up at 6:30. I'm prepping to go to the gym because I want to
Mhm.
give me the first part of my day, right? Not be. Well, let me take that back. I'm gonna give it to God first. So first, get up, pray, right? Thank you, Lord, for another day, waking me up, and just really praying. And then I get myself prepared to go to the gym. So
Okay.
then I give myself an hour. I come first because I can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that just from living life, from learning, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the priority.
Hmm.
But also, I don't have small children. And I know you'll get when you speak on it because you are a mom of small ones. So I no longer have that obligation of prepping kids and getting them ready and all of those things. So then once I return back, I'm like, okay, I shower, get myself together. And then I have already had a schedule because I have a planner of what my day will look like. Usually, my first client is at 10 a.m. And so then from there, I have my work day, and my schedule is already set from me using my planner weekly. And so that's kind of how my the tools that I would use is creating a schedule for yourself, having a planner, and then being able to be open to adjusting as needed.
Yeah.
Not feeling like, okay, so I got to be so rigid that I
Hmm.
can't change this schedule or switch things around because some things may not work. So you got to identify what works best for you and what all you have going on, right? That's
Right.
really key because I don't put more on my plate than I can, eat per se.
Perfect.
I try to make sure that, hey, okay, I'm full. I know my capacity with clients in a day.
Yeah.
I'm good with seeing six clients a day, but any more than six, your girl is tapped out. So
Yeah.
I also know that I need downtime when I get off because I need to replenish, right? I've taken in a lot. I've seen people and there's some, real issues that come up in therapy. So I need to digress.
Hmm.
And I eat dinner by the latest is 6:30. I try to eat by 6. And then because I need to allow that, to digest and get out, because I'm going to bed at 9:15, remember. So then my evening is I like YouTube, right? So I might grab an episode of something from a podcast that's usually related to church. And then also I may read or listen to an audible, but that's my downtime. And then I
Yeah.
repeat, right? Until the weekend comes, and that might look a little different, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm not working all day on the weekend. Sunday is, of course, church, and then like laundry and groceries and things like that to prep for the week.
Mhm.
But yeah. So what would you say you do?
So I think what you said is what I will call like a balance audit, right? Like you said, having that schedule, you're balancing. And that's going to be important when you're balancing like that physical health. Because
Mhm.
you have your physical health when you get up and it plays into your mental health. You have your
Yeah.
schedule for your career. You have your spiritual health, right? All in your schedule. And it's all scheduled in. And a
Mhm.
lot of times, we get into this mindset, especially here we go as me, right? A mom with young kids, right? Where creating that is difficult because you never know the wrench that a kid can throw in a plan or a new, thing that's going on at the school or, things of that nature, right? Things
Mhm.
always can come up and it kind of can change and shift like the entire week, right?
Mhm.
If one kid gets sick, it changes everything for me, right? But
Right.
it's still important to set a plan, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of, us moms, we kind of like, it's kind of hard where I just don't know, but that schedule is still important. That schedule of that self care, we have
Right.
to schedule that. Like that is really important,
Yeah.
even more because we have young kids, right?
Hmm.
We don't have the freedom of just saying, you know, it's lunchtime. I ain't got nothing to do. I'm gonna run to the gym and do some self care. No, maybe lunchtime. You might not have nothing to do per se, but you do. You got laundry. You probably got some chores if that's happening. You just have something on your plate, right? So you have to make sure that you're scheduling. The time where you are spending with friends, where you are spending in your relationship with your spouse, and things like that. Like
Right.
that has to now be scheduled. So I think for me, right? That balance audit is very important. Am
Hmm.
I taking too much on? What can I handle? Is it too much, right?
Yeah.
And that is going to be weighing, assessing, right? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Am I overwhelmed in my career? Am I Because if I am, maybe I need to dial back on some clients, right? Or
Hmm.
maybe I need to, dial back on, you know, promotions or marketing tools, right? Maybe that's what it is. So it's looking at where is the heaviness, on the same scale. Maybe with the family, maybe I'm like underwhelmed and I'm not spending enough time with them because they're in Michigan and I'm in Atlanta, right? So even that, right? That rate, okay, well, that balance is not right. I need to move up because I need to spend time with them. I long for that. So
Hmm.
I think, like you said, creating that schedule, having that schedule, and things like that, balancing all the different avenues,
Hmm.
that is going to be so big, so big. So
Definitely.
as we are on that second part of that year. That's my goal, right? Is to
Hmm.
really sit with that schedule. If I
Right.
say I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and make it to the gym because that's the time that I can actually do it for me and the
Hmm.
kids is good and everything else, and this is the time I'm going to do it. Not know, well, I need another hour of sleep, and no, go take care of my physical health, my mental health, right? I
Hmm.
need to be around for those kids. So I
Yeah.
got to take care of me first. I have to start putting, my, fun, my, happiness in a sense. You have to put that first.
Yeah.
That's so big on replenishing that cup because again, how can I be a great mom if
Yeah.
I'm tired all the time
Definitely.
or if I'm overwhelmed all the time? Because, we all know when you overwhelmed, extremely tired, you can get, snappy,
Right.
agitated, things of that nature, right? And I want to be the best me. So that's my thing going to the second part of the year is making sure to keep that schedule. I have one, it's created, it's there, but I have to keep it.
Yeah. That's so important because it really is where you're saying, okay, so I have to be disciplined with myself
Hmm.
to put myself first to make sure and know why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? So always going back to my why, right?
Right.
That's so important because it is where you need to make sure that you're caring for yourself so you can care for the little ones and others, right?
Mhm.
I was thinking about, how, of course, we may have a little more flexibility in our schedules because we see clients, we schedule clients and things of that nature. So it goes around our schedule, right? But if it
Yeah.
is where someone is working a job that is completely, 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or things like that, it's like, okay, so they have this set schedule, right? But then now they have to be able to create the schedule around that schedule that's set, right, that's like not adjustable.
Mhm.
And even when you think about the children, right, because I know you have 3 little ones, so for you, different schools possibly, well, not possibly, right, I know so um but like, okay, top of the year or when they go back to school, now they're out in the summer, so lucky you, right? But
Mhm.
now that's even more because if you didn't put them in camp or you don't have activities for them, right now you're like, okay, let me, adjust how my schedule is to be able to do what I need to do and make sure they're good while still working. But when you're in school, it's like, okay, when you go back in the fall, they give you the calendar. They're like, okay, these events, this and that. And then if a kid is in sports and everybody want to do their own thing, right? They're different ages, all of the thing, it can stretch you. You can be
Correct.
pulled in so many different directions. Um,
Hmm.
where it's like the parent is likely like listening, like, okay, but you don't get it.
Yeah.
I have this going on and that going on and there and this activity and that activity, and I don't get to focus on me because I have to do for them, right? And
Hmm.
so I would say to that parent, even in choosing to allow your children to be in activities, they need to also learn the importance of balance early on. And
Hmm.
so, because if you have one or if you have several children, everybody likely will want to do something. It depends on the support system you have. I do believe it takes a village. I know sometimes people don't have the support. I know, even from you all moving to Atlanta, right? Like, so it's limited support. It's not that you guys didn't make friends or possibly connect with people or know people that you could possibly call on here and there, but it's not family. Like, okay, I know for sure so sometimes even in adjusting and saying and having like, okay, you only get to be in this activity in this season.
Right.
Or we rotate which child gets to be in an activity in whatever season that their activity is, going on.
Hmm.
Um, Figuring out what works best. I'm not saying it's always easy. So we don't want to act like it's always easy and it's just like, oh, create a schedule. And once you
No.
create a schedule, it's just smooth sailing. We're not
Mm-mm.
saying that. I do know from when I did have small children so long ago, it really did require, they had an age gap, so they were 8 years apart. So by the time the one, got up into getting into different things, we were able to be able, my husband went one with one and I went with the other. Dance for her, he has basketball, right? Or this or that. We had to split off. But then also we had the support of my mom, like a grandmother, right? Or, like, hey, can you pick them up? Or we use latchkey. One child wasn't a latchkey kid. She didn't like it at all. She didn't like and one child loved latchkey, wanted to go all the time and stay there. Like, don't pick me up. So it depends because personalities are different,
Yeah.
so navigating, okay, so what do I need to have in place? Can I get a support system? Is there mom support? What would that look like? But
Hmm.
identifying, I don't want to be overwhelmed and burnt out, so I have to really pay attention
Yes. There you
and be
go.
intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about how I'm utilizing my time and how I'm making sure that I replenish and make myself a priority because it's not an option.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think, like you said, the first step is awareness, right? Is being aware that you're taking on too much.
Mhm.
Not after you've done it, beforehand. Am I taking on too much? That's where that balance audit come in, right? Can I take on this PTA? If I take on my middle school PTA, am I going to take on the elementary PTA?
Mhm.
Balance, right? Maybe
Right.
this year I'll take on elementary, maybe next year I'll take on middle, right? We have to find that balance because again, like I tell all moms, they come, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, the disconnect of, who I am as a woman because of a partner, a spouse, a mom, working, trying to go to school. I don't even know who I am. What do I like? What is my self care, right? And you know what I tell to a lot of moms? If everything is important, then nothing is really important. If everything is, right? We have to be able to prioritize what's really important because if every last step of it is important, then it can't be. Like there's something that's more important than the other. Let's tackle that
Right.
one,
So you saying,
right?
hey, it could all be important, but what is the first priority? What is the first thing
Right.
that needs to come first before? Because you could definitely feel as if, okay, so I can't go without this or that, right? It is
Mhm.
important to me. That's fine, but in what order? That's what
Right.
I'm hearing you say, right? Like, so what order, how do you prioritize what goes first? Everything, because you can't give 100% to everything all at once. You can give 100% to something if you're working on it at one time, but not
Right.
all at once, right? When we multitask, right? I know sometimes we're like, I'm great at multitasking. I would be like, that
Mhm.
was me.
Mhm.
Um, but it really is me giving a percentage of
Right.
myself to several things to
And the thing
multitask.
and the thing about it is, if everything is important, then when I say nothing is important, because the most important thing will be the priority, right? So that will be what you would consider important, right? If you get a list of like a whole bunch of things that I consider important, my kid's dentist, my kid's doctor, my dentist, my doctor, and maybe I don't know, a random appointment, right? That's 5 appointments I'm talking about right there. But let's talk about what's more important. Is
Right.
one of my kids sick right now? Do one of them need to really go right now? Is that other doctor's appointment for my health because, maybe I got a cavity, right? Is that more important, or I'm taking the kids because they're kids, right? So there we talk about that priority. What's
Hmm.
really more important?
Yeah.
Because everything on our list is to do, right? We got a
Right.
lot of things we have to do as moms, as
Yeah.
people in general, right? The world keep going.
Hmm.
We always have a lot of things to do, but what is important? And that's the biggest thing, because that's the first thing that kind of pop in your mind. You wake up, I need to get this done. That might be the priority, right? That might be
Right.
the most important thing on that list. And maybe that's the
Hmm.
one you want to tackle because that's the one that is on your mind and playing over and over and over. It needs to be completed.
Definitely. That is so true. So making sure that you look at what you need to get done and
Mhm.
prioritizing that first, and creating a things to do list, but not putting 100 things on the list, right? Start it
Right.
with 3 or 4 things, check it off once it's done. Now you can add 3 or 4 more, but
Mhm.
really be realistic about any type of to-do list. But then also, even when it comes down to cooking, right? Like finding a balance in that, like, oh, maybe you meal prep, or maybe you cook Sunday and enough for Sunday, Monday, and then maybe you turn around and cook Tuesday and it's enough Tuesday, Wednesday. Sometimes you do have to make enough so that way you're not in the kitchen every day. Maybe the weekend it is where you eat out, right? So Friday, Saturday you eat out, and not feel guilty about it because hey, I cooked 5 days out of the week, so these 2 days is okay for me to grab something for us to eat. And if you have a partner and you talk about, hey, so we're gonna split up some responsibilities, right? Like, okay, so you cook 2 days and then I cook 2 days or 3 days, whatever that looks like, what is best for the family, the household. But really asking for support, not feeling like if you're a mom, not feeling like I need to be the one to do it all because I'm the mom and the wife and this is the title and I think that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
Because you're one person managing a household and supporting a partner, a husband, and children. So that is a lot. Don't dismiss what you do,
Correct. Yeah.
especially if you also work, right? And you also are doing things for yourself. That's managing so many different things. So you, like you said, you have to identify, hey, what's really important right now? Do I need to take this on? Should I put this on hold? How do what schedule works for my children and me so we can have some harmony, some peace?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And and being fair, right? Like we said, we don't expect people to create a schedule and be able to just stick with it, and it's just an easy process, right? We understand that it comes with practice and it comes with repetition. You got to keep kind of going at it and keep doing
Yeah.
it. And then it's also, you can also create a block schedule, right? Between this time is only work. Between this time is only family. Between this time, I will rest. And that rest will be my self care. Or maybe you would do your personal time, right? And you will block that off, from 7 to 9. That's just me. Maybe I'll go
Mhm.
read a book in the tub and, talk to my friend or something, like
Right.
whatever it is that you love for your self care that you can do. Again, we already spoke on it before, but, the bringing it back up, the biggest thing is self care doesn't always have to be expensive. It
Right.
doesn't always have to be outside the house. It
No.
doesn't always, okay, I got to find a sitter for me to be able to practice self
Yeah.
care. No, 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 no,
It
no.
can be
You should
playing a
be
game.
okay
It
with
could be
sitting in your
reading a book that you checked out at the
yeah.
library.
Mhm.
Utilize it, the library.
Correct.
Definitely. It could be an audible that you're reading. It could
And
be,
like for you, a podcast.
hmm
If
yeah,
you're into YouTube,
yeah.
a podcast, right? I would tell a person who enjoy surfing social media, not for comparison, but just enjoy. I just like looking at the internet and people watching, and it's fun and it entertains me to watch these funny TikTok videos, right? There's people who enjoy that.
hmm
Well, that's self-care for you. Maybe you do spend some time doing that, right? Because you enjoy it. I could sit here and be like, well, you should take a break from screens and kind of focus inward, but maybe that's not a you thing, right? Maybe a you thing is like you said, maybe it's being able to sit in the tub and look at people on TikTok do dances. Maybe you enjoy that. Maybe you enjoy cooking. I love cooking on TikTok. I love saying TikTok made me do this recipe.
Yeah.
Like that's the best thing. TikTok made me do it for sure. So yeah, you have to find your thing and ask yourself, like, what do I need right now and what can wait? Like those are really big questions to ask. Like, and sometimes we got to ask, especially as women, am I doing more than I need to? Because
Mm,
sometimes we carry on things that we don't have to. No one asks us to take this on, but yet we feel as a woman we should, right? So that's where we take the step back.
yeah, yeah. So it's ways to find balance.
Yeah,
It's really where
definitely.
you got to take your time and ensure and look at your schedules, but also implement boundaries.
Hmm.
Create, even when you're teaching your children, everything is a teachable moment. So even when you're like, hey, I need time for me, so that teaches them that they will be okay with having time for themselves and what that looks like. So definitely that, giving them something that they may enjoy the end of the evening, right? Like whether it's a puzzle, a book, hey, this is your time, go and, spend your time, and then we'll connect before you go to bed, right? Those
Right.
things, right? So that's so important. I'm so glad we had this topic. Just kind of going through it, and even with school just getting out for, so parents are likely finding things for their children to do, adjusting to a new summer schedule,
Right.
because it's like each season you're adjusting. So
Hmm.
definitely, so this is definitely a good topic.
It definitely is. It definitely is to find like healthy coping ways to kind of just manage and not be overwhelmed and know how to put those boundaries in place, the importance of setting a schedule, like
Mhm.
all those different tools, right? It
Yeah,
can really help, relieve some stress, right? Relieve some anxiety. And that's important because we don't want to just get overwhelmed and just keep ticking and ticking and
yeah.
ticking. Sometimes we need to
Listen to
take a
your body.
right. That's
Yeah.
so important to do.
hmm
Rest. Rest
hmm
is very very important. And of course, as therapists, what we will also say is if you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't know what part of my life is doing this to me,
And
what part
how
do
to
I feel
manage, right? Like,
right?
listen, therapy will benefit you because you'll learn the tools and the techniques to implement so you can get the balance you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. So we want more topics. We want more conversation. We
Yeah.
love this. I absolutely love that we had a viewer, send in
hmm
their thoughts about like what tools are we using to manage. Like
Definitely.
that is so important. So I'm happy we got to touch on this today.
I am too. And once again, we're going to say if you are not a subscriber, please subscribe, like, and share. Until next time.
Have a good day.